Hi, this is Progressive Short Takes. I'm your host, Joe Firestone. Thank you very much for coming. Tonight, I want to talk about rule changes, one in the House and one in the Senate, that can help to diminish the power of the congressional branch of the oligarchy that runs our oligarchic democracy. So, these are really very simple rule changes. Hi, Kay, how are you? And they are based on the idea that the source of power in each branch of the Congress, both the Senate and the House, is the power to get a floor vote for your bills, the bills that you think are good ideas for the country, the bills that you think should be passed in the center and the House. When people vote for their representatives in the two houses, of the legislature, they vote for representatives that they believe will have influence in each house. They vote for representatives that they think will be able to write the bills that are good for their constituents and will be able to get a hearing for those bills, not a hearing before some committee, but a hearing before the floor of Congress. Not just a hearing, but a debate concerning the bills. And they hope that their representatives will be able to get the kinds of bills that are good for their constituents through the Congress. That's what is really important in making a representative a popular representative. What's important is that that representative have some power. Yes, Evelina, this is live. It's a progressive short take, but I decided to make it live because I might as well. I'm going to say the same thing anyway. So the point here is that if we want to maximize the influence of our representatives, and if they want to maximize their influence so they can get the floor votes that we would most like them to get through the Congress, then they have to be able to get their floor votes onto the floor. If you vote for someone who says, I'm in favor, of Medicare for all, then I want to get you Medicare for all. They're never going to have any success at that if they can't get a floor vote for Medicare for all in the Congress, if it gets pigeonholed in some committee. Or if the leader of the House, the Speaker of the House that is, and the majority leader of the Senate don't want to put the measures you favor, if they don't want to put those measures up for a floor vote, those floor votes are never going to get through. Now, the way the Congress runs now, the backbenchers who may be your representative or who may be one or both of your two senators cannot get a floor vote for their bills. They've got very little influence. They can write some bills. They can introduce some bills. Those bills then go to committees. And if the committee chairs don't like the bills, or if the majority leader of the Senate and the Speaker of the House don't care for those bills. Those bills are going to be pigeonholed, and they're going to sit there for years. There's a great Medicare for All bill in the House now. It's H.R. 1384. It was introduced by Pramila Jayapal, I believe, in March of 2019, if I recall correctly, or April of 2019, something like that. It was sitting there for all of the rest of 2019 and all of the rest of 2020 because the oligarchs in the House did not want that bill to get a floor vote, and it never got a floor vote. So the power of the oligarchs in Congress to block things and the power of the oligarchs to pass things is very much based on their power to influence which bills get to the floor in both houses. So I have a way around it. It's a simple way. I'll talk about the way around it. Then I'm going to talk about what we have to do to get the rule changes through, or what has to be done. It's not simply a matter of what we, the people, can do, but also of what we have to require of our representatives. But first, the rule change is really a very simple one. Okay, for the Senate, it's a rule that simply requires that any bill that gets that gets 10 co-sponsors, any bill that in the House gets 20 co-sponsors, will automatically trigger a floor vote. Any such bill is entitled to a floor vote, and the Speaker of the House must bring it to a floor vote within a defined period of time, let's say 2 weeks or so, something like that. So you get 20 co-sponsors in the House, your bill is entitled to a floor vote. So you put a bill in and you lobby for it, and you try to get 20 people to join you. Okay, now this would be a very good thing, by the way, because it would mean that people who co-sponsored your bill are really ready to have a floor vote on it. They're voting for it to become a floor vote with their co-sponsorship. So their co-sponsorship is going to be real. It won't be pretend. I mean, right now, you got 120 people in the House, 119 people actually, who are co-sponsors of the Medicare for All bill, or at least who were in the last Congress. Many of them, though, were insincere. They were co-sponsoring because they didn't have to go on the line for anything. So they co-sponsored it. It was some sort of indication they were for Medicare for All, but they weren't on the line for it. If co-sponsorship, if that meant that you were pushing that bill for a floor vote, the only co-sponsors would be co-sponsors who were sincere about wanting to get an up or down vote on that particular piece of, on that particular bill. Okay. So the rule in the Senate would be similar, except it would only require 10 senators. Because why? Because there are 100 senators in the Senate. There are 435 people in the House. So actually, you have to get 10% of the Senate, okay, in order to get, okay, a floor vote. Okay, but you wouldn't have to get 10% of the House. That would be 44 co-sponsors. All you would need would be 20 co-sponsors. So it's more like a little under, somewhat under 5% of the House that you'd have to get. So floor votes would be easier to get in the House than in the Senate under these proposals. But the effect would be the same in both branches. It would diminish the power of the leadership to control things that get to the floor. It would also diminish the power of the committee chairs in terms of their power to get things to the floor. It would increase the power of the backbenchers. So it would diminish the oligarchy in the two houses of Congress. And by the way, we just had a big shindig on Twitter with people wanting to force the vote for Medicare for all. It was really a big party on Twitter. All kinds of people, all kinds of controversy about that, whether they should support force the vote or not force the vote. By the way, if these rules had been in place, there would have been no need for that at all. No need for that at all. Because there were 119 co-sponsors. If there were anything like that within the House, H.R. 1384 would have gotten a floor vote long ago. It would have gotten a floor vote in 2019. Maybe then the people who were agitating for force the vote instead would have agitated for something that was more significant, like replacing Nancy Pelosi as the Speaker of the House. But that's neither here nor there. We still have to consider here, but first of all, things that have to be done in order to get the required number of co-sponsors. Of course, your representatives who introduced the bills you favor into the Senate, or into the House, they would have to do something. And what they would have to do is to organize their colleagues and to horse trade with them and to develop basically coalitions to get bills to the floor. That's okay. They could do that. You'd see them be very active in doing that if they had the power to get bills to the floor that way, because it would give the backbenchers more power than they have had in a very, very long time. You want your representatives to have power. They want to have power, more power than they have. They don't want to sit there in Congress year after year after year and not have any impact because they're backbenchers, or not have any impact until they get on committees, which they can't get on until they kowtow to the heads of the committees and kowtow to the leadership in the House or the Senate. I'm being polite when I say kowtow, but you know what I mean. So the point being, of course, the leadership in both houses of Congress is going to be very much opposed to that. And the committee heads are going to be very much opposed. But the rank and file, the heavy majority of all the representatives from all the districts in the country and all the states in the country, they will want these rules. They will want the rules changed to get both of these rules. And if you, as your constituents, if you lobby for this particular rules change, there's no reason why a majority of people in each house of Congress could not form. I mean, remember, when the Democrats, are in the majority in the House, how can Republicans get bills to the floor? They can't get bills into the floor. They have to sit there for 2 long years and not get any of their bills to the floor, not be able to represent their constituents at all. So it's not simply the backbenchers in the Democratic Party when a House is controlled by the Democrats, or the backbenchers in the Republican Party where a House is controlled by the Republicans, who are not able to get their bills to the floor. But it's also everybody in the opposing party, whether they're backbenchers or not, they can't get their bills to the floor. But if you envision a situation where 20 people in the House are necessary to co-sponsor a bill, then it's easy to see coalitions, cross-party coalitions forming in favor of particular bills to try to get those bills to the floor. Why is it important to get bills to the floor? Because the people in both parties have to go on record as for or against. And that's what they want to avoid, because it makes them vulnerable in primaries and makes them vulnerable in the next election. So that's why they would like to avoid this. In other words, they're generally happy to avoid this. But on the other hand, if that were the system, if these rules were involved, they would love that, because on the positive side, they can put their own bills in that they favor. And if they get those bills through, then they look great. So it is in the interest of the individual representatives or the individual senators to break down the oligarchy in both houses of Congress so they can have more influence, so that the freshman senator or the sophomore senator or the freshman House person can have an influence. So Cori Bush can have some impact. So Jamal Bowman can have some impact. So I think that we can pressure our representatives, especially our new representatives. In fact, all the representatives that are not a part of the oligarchy, that don't have much power, we can pressure them all to want to have this alternative method of getting bills to the floor. To summarize, for those who came in late, the proposal is that if you get 20 co-sponsors for a bill in the House, that automatically triggers a floor vote within 2 weeks' time. That is, it would be mandatory for the Speaker of the House to get a floor vote for your bill within 2 weeks' time. The rule is virtually the same for the Senate, except there have to be only 10 co-sponsors for the Senate, not but 20 co-sponsors. And the reason why these rule changes would be so important was because it would break the power of the oligarchy in Congress. And remember, the oligarchy derives its power from the fact that money is being funneled through the oligarchical leaders of the Congress to the backbenchers. That's why the backbenchers so easily get captured by the oligarchy. But with this new rule, they'd be better able to get popular support if their bill got a floor vote and got passed. So the backbenchers would be looking to do that all the time, looking to make an impact of their own, looking to be independent in order to maximize their own power, because that's the way it works with people. They'd be competing to get their floor votes and to get their bills passed. And that would be the counterweight to the oligarchy in both houses of the Congress of the United States. So this is intended to be a progressive short take. So I'm not going to consider your comments tonight because this has got to be short. I'll be back soon with some other progressive short takes. But that's it for now. And you'll have the video for both of these things on Facebook, okay, and on YouTube, okay, in just a few minutes. So good night for now, and I'll be back with some more short takes before the night is over. Thank you very much.